While we wait for just one more board member to join us, I would like to welcome everyone to the East Stroudsburg Area School District Board of Education regular meeting for December 21st, 2020 at 7:15-ish or so. We're all meeting via Zoom. Welcome to our meeting. Tonight, we're going to start first with a performance by the High School North Chorale. And so we'll start with their wonderful music first.
Even though I can use the restroom. Did we miss the pledge of allegiance? We're doing this first.
I can't hear them.
Mr. Baddick, we can't hear them.
Or see them.
in heavenly, sleep, sleep in heavenly. Peace.
All right, thank you very much. Well done. I think I have another, here we go, another one. All right.
What can I give him for as I am? What can I give him for as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would give him a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. But what can I give him? What can I give him? Oh, what can I give him? What can I give him? I will give him my heart.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, proceeding on, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would never do that.
All right, roll call. Patricia.
George Andrews,
Here.
Rebecca Bear,
That's it.
Dr. Damari Bonilla,
Here.
Larry Diamond,
Here.
Sharon Glasgow,
Here.
Debbie Kulik,
Here.
Wayne Roner,
Here.
Rich Lamus,
Present.
Lisa Van Wy,
Here.
9 present.
All right, thank you. This evening, an executive session was held before the meeting for the purpose of discussing personnel, litigation, and negotiations. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for December 21st, 2020 as submitted.
I'd like to add some items to the agenda.
All right, we need a motion. So Damari's given the motion.
Yes.
Just a second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Now, Rebecca.
I would like to motion to have winter sports resume on the January 4th or when Governor Wolf lifts the ban.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to resume winter sports training and participation when the governor lifts the ban or January 4th, whichever is permitted. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the agenda item? All right, all in favor to adding this to the agenda, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any other agenda items?
Yes,
to
I'd like
add or
to,
consider?
I'm sorry. I'd like to add a
Go ahead.
personal item, if I may, to the agenda. Do you want me to say
Yeah,
Amanda
please.
Parrish? I would like to make a motion to add Amanda Parrish as the Assistant High School North Principal. And that would be under personnel items and the start date to be announced, to be determined, I'm sorry.
I'll second that, Lisa.
All right, so Lisa and Rebecca, motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, excellent. Anything else for the agenda?
That's that. Hey, where do we do order? No? Okay.
Okay, so well, now we'll take the whole agenda as it's in total. All in favor of accepting the agenda as we've amended? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's our agenda. Motion to approve the minutes from the November 16th, 2020 board meeting.
I'll motion
moved.
that, Rich.
Oh.
Or I'll second, whatever you want me to do, either one.
As long as Patricia has it down, I'm fine. Okay, we have a motion and a second for minutes. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to reports. Monroe Career Technical Institute.
Okay, I'll take that. On December 14th, 2020, the MCTI JOC held their reorganization and regular board meeting. This year, it was Pleasant Valley's turn to preside over the JOC, so the committee recommended and the JOC voted to accept Sue Kresge as the chair and Pocono Mountain School District Jackie Leonard for the vice chair. We approved revisions to the MCTI path to reopening schools. That's part of the health and safety plan. We've approved several policies and personnel items. And I'd just like to say it's important that we get back to school because these students, I mean, they are attending, some of them are attending, but their certifications and their licenses and their skills are depending on the in-person learning they receive at MCTI. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to Colonial IU20 update.
Thanks, Rich. The board meeting on December 9th covered a lot. So we approved revisions to the Colonial IU20 Health and Safety Plan. The plan is being submitted to PDE and will be updated on the Colonial IU20 website. Dewey Engineering presented a report and findings for the IU20 Capital Improvement Plan and Data Center Renovations Project. The data center is the first project that IU20 will embark on in the upcoming school year. The data center provides internet, telephone service, server hosting, firewall protection, and filtering to 18 school districts and 4 additional IU locations. The data center renovations will ensure full backup and redundancy for services in the event of a power outage, in addition to adding various safety features in the event of an emergency. The construction phase of the project is anticipated to begin in June or October of 2021, pending bidding for the project. East Stroudsburg University students teamed up with the Colonial Academy Backpack Buddies program to collect food for students and families in need for the holiday season. They received a huge variety of canned and packaged goods that gave students and families the chance to fill their Thanksgiving table. We're proud that that is a university in our local community. On November 20th, Colonial IU20 held the first ever turkey trot race to benefit families in need during the holiday season. Students from various programs worked together to donate canned goods to participate in the inclusive school-wide event. In total, the IU20 provided 9 families with a Thanksgiving dinner. The IU20 early intervention and various school-age programs were recipients of a grant that funded remote learning resource bags for families. The bags featured various learning items from PBS and social emotional learning lessons from the popular children's show, Daniel Tiger. For 40 years, IU20 has partnered with the Kiwanis Club of Easton on a holiday party that is typically attended by over 150 students in the programs. but this year's party was canceled due to the pandemic. So the Kiwanis Club volunteered to create special treat bags to be sent home with the students that would have traditionally attended the party. The next Board of Directors meeting for IU20 will be held on January 27th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Bonilla. Moving on to Properties and Facilities Committee. Ms. Van Wy.
Yes. Properties and Facilities. A recommendation from Properties and Facilities this evening are proposal from Center Stage Lighting and Rigging for the High School South Auditorium, and proposal from Train for installation of the dehumidification controls for JTL pod. These items were not budgeted for and they weren't on the capital plan, so the recommendation is to pay for them through the general fund. Also on the agenda is proposal from Keystone Fire Protection for installation of a dry fire suppression system in the South High School server room. Recommendation to pay application 6 for Lehigh Valley Flooring as a final payment for JTL flooring project. Application number 11 from Jotten Inc. for High School North and Lehman roof. But there's just a small punch list to do for that, and that should be complete. Application number 6 from Train Inc. for the HVAC control project for High School North and Lehman. This is a final invoice. Application number 1 from Environmental Restorations for the removal of the underground storage tank at JTL Bus Garage. And that's 85% complete. They're waiting on some things so they can start the paving. And also, as well as Dewey Engineering invoices A through J. I pretty much said what all those were in reference to, so I'm not going to repeat them. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now back to you, Damari.
Yeah, and I was just thinking we go back and forth, right, Lisa and I, for a little bit. The Education Committee met on December 9th, back to back with the IU20. It was a good night. The items that were discussed were, first of all, thanking board member George Andrews for his service to the committee this year. And second of all, welcoming new committee member Sharon Glasgow. We're excited about the year going forward. And so we did have an opportunity to get an update from the DEI committee. This is a topic of discussion that we will have every month as the committee is taking off and subcommittees are doing on the ground work in areas of HR practices, of curriculum, and just a wide variety of topics around diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also had an opportunity to hear an update around trauma-informed work in our district. It's an area that we have, as a district, been working on for over a year. We did have an opportunity to train over 200 staff members recently, and it's an area that we're committed to, which is really important. Both of the topics are really important right now, considering where we are in societal issues and what our students are facing. And then we also had an opportunity to confirm dates for 2021 education program meetings. Would love to have more members of our community engaged. We will meet the second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. The next meeting is on Wednesday, January 13th. And then last but not least, an important step that we took was to approve a request for funding for the second step bullying prevention to enhance our bullying prevention program that then moved on to the finance committee. So that was our education program. Thanks, Rich.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on to the finance committee meeting, finance committee update. Ms. Baer.
So we did approve the bullying platform that Damari spoke about, and that is being paid through a grant. So that's exciting that we're getting that through a grant that they were able to secure for us. And it was for all the elementary schools. The grant covered 5 of the schools, but we've put into the budget for next year to pay for it. So every elementary school gets that. We also discussed antivirus software. We were presented with 3 options, and we went with IntegraCore, and that will cover all of our Macs, which their contract is up for renewal this year anyways, and also all of the Windows programs that we also have. And we then discussed the food delivery program, and it's going well, and it's being paid for through the funds that we're getting to make sure that every child gets a meal. And we also are another grant that we were able to secure for almost the whole cost was the part for the bus stop camera arms, which will be a surround sound cameras on our arms of our buses, so we can catch the people that, you know, are speeding through the stop signs and all that. And that cost is $148,676, and $140,000 of that is coming from a grant. We are beginning to submit our fuel bids we partnered with the IU for that. We haven't gotten any back yet, but that process has begun. We also, you'll see on the agenda, the Burke 1 Act 80 proposal. We went with the same bundle we've gone with in the past, which is Bundle B, which is $730. And that covers the cost that we pay to Berkheimer to collect our local taxes. And you'll see on the agenda tonight, we have to vote on the Act 1 resolution for our preliminary budget, and Mr. Mcti will present that to us. We also discussed the current projects of the district and set dates for the Finance Committee meeting, and they will be on the second Monday, as they were before, at 5:30. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Moving on to the Policy Review Committee, Dr. Glasgow.
Good evening. The Policy Review Committee met this evening. We reviewed 5 policies, 4 of which will come up will be posted for your review. The 4 policies are Policy 337, Vacations, Policy 342, Jury Duty, Policy 343, Paid Holidays, and Policy 707, Use of Facilities. Policy 339, Uncompensated Leave, will we elected to make some edits, and it'll come back before you next month. Rich, that concludes my policy update report.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to public participation. Limited to comments on the agenda by residents and taxpayers of the school district. You have 3 minutes each, and I will recognize Daryl.
Rich,
Yes.
you,
Yes.
you have a budget presentation first.
Oh, right. I skipped right over that. I was gonna,
No
yeah,
problem.
all right.
No problem.
Kind of important, right? So Tom, take it away.
I thought you were just trying to get rid of me that fast. And I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully it works. Can everyone see that? All right. All right, good evening, everybody. This is our annual budget presentation that we provide in December in accordance with the Act 1 index. I'm going to go through a couple on the agenda today. We will have, I gotta move this box out of my way, sorry. On our agenda tonight, I will try to be quick because I understand we have a lot on our agenda today, a lot of talking points. So I will go over our current revenues, where we stand right now, going through this uncharted waters with the pandemic. And then I'll talk about our charter school costs. And then I'll briefly run through our role of the school board budget and with the budget and some school finance 101. I added these 2 last year to our budget presentation because we had so many new board members. And I just wanted to give you a little refresher. And then also important timelines for your decisions. And then I'll talk about our story on how our money comes to be on the revenue side and also where we spend our money. And then we will have an outlook for our future, and then why, and then our next steps that we got to take. So first of all, we'll talk about our property tax collections. And as you can see right here, our property tax collections as of October 31st are about $1 million, $1.1 million ahead of last year. Now, again, this is during the discount period. Everything will shake out probably the end of January is when we'll get some final numbers. But that, I mean, for in the pandemic, when we were thinking our property taxes may not come in as well, as you can see, they are coming in early, pretty good right now. So that is a positive for the district right now. And then if I scroll down to, next one's our earned income credit. And as you can see, this way, our earned income credit is also about $100,000 ahead of last year. And again, this is in the middle of the pandemic, right in there in July. These collections are July, August, September, and October. And again, we're ahead of last year's numbers. So we're looking pretty good at beating the number that we thought we were going to be under. We underestimated our revenue. So hopefully right now, as everything stays, as more jobs are going back, we're getting in the East Stroudsburg School District area, at least it seems to be our collections are going. So that means people are out there working, which is fantastic and good for not only the people of East Stroudsburg, but also our tax base. The next thing I'd like to talk about quickly is our charter school costs. So I just showed you a couple quick slides of how our revenues are doing very well. Well, now our charter school costs are also starting to go up. As you can see over here in the right-hand corner, our enrollment in last school year, 19-20 school year, we had 241 students enrolled in charter schools. And in 2021, we have an estimate of 461 currently enrolled in charter schools. So you see that's 220 enrollment higher than last year. And as you can see here, right below that, our tuition rates. And as you can see, that is based off our ADMs and our total budget. And as you can see, a special ed student is $34,000 last year. This year's $35,000. And then regular ed students are roughly right around 14,000. So when you multiply, our special ed population is approximately 20% of our district. So when you multiply these tuitions with these enrollment numbers, as you can see, our total last fiscal year was $4,500,000. And so if I use the same numbers for estimating out this year, that our special ed is still at a 20% versus our regular ed, we're possibly going to have a charter school bill of $8.5 million, which is $400 million more than last year. Again, those are estimates. That's if they stay in the charter school the whole year, or if they come back to the district, which hopefully we will get back to a full 5 day a week. We can get back to some normalcy in the district and in our lives, and maybe this number won't be as high. Any questions on that? So those are just kind of where we stand this current fiscal year. And then compared to last year. So just to go, I'll try to breeze through this a little quicker so I can save on some time, because I know you guys want to get to the end numbers. What factors should the board consider in their budget decision-making process? And then we go, the role of the school board and the budget. And then the role of the board is the local school board adopts a budget. It collects revenues and makes expenditures. All school district finances start with a budget. In making the budgetary decisions, the board must balance a variety of competing interests and choose between what it finds necessary for a good education program and what it and its taxpayers can afford. And then in budgeting, adopting a budget is one of the most important functions of a school board. And a school system budget, no matter how large or small, is a delicate balance of policy choices. The budget provides school boards with the opportunity to directly influence the educational environment of the district. Adoption of the budget provides the administrative staff with the direction and guidance to act. And budgeting is not a partisan political tool and it should represent the educational needs of the total community. A self-serving to special interest groups and be able to represent a greater public good, a forum for achieving personal advantage, and a sole basis for evaluating administrative performance, and a vehicle to censor previous actions from previous boards. A budget, if properly planned, present, will provide benefits beyond legal compliance. And I'll highlight a couple here. Establishes relationships of the cost with the programs, communicates financial need to the business community, educates the staff about the interrelationships of specific activities within the district, demonstrates and supports orderly planning and action, establishes a framework for work programs, and helps communicate the return on the investment of tax resources. In School Finance 101, this is where we'll talk about how and why we do what we do. And then budgeting is required by state law. There's two parts. There's the investment plan for programs and services designed to achieve the district's educational goals and objectives. Financing plan to meet the district's expected costs. Finances, expenditures by function. It's all state required. We have a state chart of accounts that all districts follow. It's 5 educational cost categories: instruction, support services, non-instructional services, capital outlay, which is your facilities acquisitions and construction projects, and then other financing uses. Instruction costs are the largest percentage of your budget, and I will show you that later on as we get deeper into the presentation. Spending by object code, that would be your third set of numbers within your long account string. And they're broken down by salaries, benefits, contracted services, property services, other purchase services, supplies and textbooks, equipment, other expenses, and debt. Salaries and benefits will represent the largest percentage of your expenditures and your investments in the district. Cost factor examples. This is I will remind you later on slide 16. I will refer back to this. You have controllable and uncontrollable costs. You have your controllable costs, your staffing, your class size, facilities, collective bargaining units and agreements, non-mandated programs, any extra programs we provide that are not mandated by the state or federal government. But then we also have uncontrollable expenditures. The PSERS rate, they keep saying that's going to slow down and not keep increasing, but it has been increasing and it's still going to be increasing. I just spoke about this a few slides back, the charter school tuition costs. We have no control over that. A student decides to leave to go to a charter school, we are told we have to pay that. Geographic location, we are a very wide district, 244 square miles. Transportation costs are higher than normal just because of the different routes and how many locations we have to pick up our students. Mandated programs, special education, and English language development. Again, those are mandated programs that we must provide. And you'll see also high percentages are always in the special ed department. We have revenue sources, 3 major areas. Local sources, your state subsidies, your federal subsidies. They're usually most of your monies are out of your Title 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what if we need more money? Bond financing, or for construction projects. That's always an option. Right now, the district is in a stable financial condition. We really don't need to worry about doing any bonding, taking any bonds out for any construction projects as of right now. Revenue factors, examples are zoning of the tax parcels, depending if it's a commercial versus a residential. Trends in assessment values of real estate. We'll talk about that later, how our assessment values fluctuate. They have been going up in recent years. Last year we had a reassessment in Monroe County. So what happened there is now there's a lot of appeals. So our assessed values increased, and now this year they kind of come back down because of all the appeals over the last 12 months. Other tax generating capacity, practical and legal limits on rates of taxation. And that goes to the Act 1 index and how we got school districts are limited on the taxing. State subsidies, we have special ed subsidy, transportation subsidy, and our basic ed subsidy. Again, federal and state grants. And then there's also the prior year's funds, which is all your fund balance. The balanced budget, the total amount shall not exceed the amount of funds available for school purposes. Your budget equation, it's very simple. It's your beginning fund balance to your ending fund balance. So how much revenue, so in between those two numbers, you have your revenue that comes in, you have your expenses going out. At the end of every year, your goal is to be balanced, but you're always hoping there's always a little something left over that you can move to save, or I like to say bank in, that if down on a rainy day, you can use it for an emergency, a small capital project. What is fund balance? It's a governmental accounting term. It's a measure of the net financial assets. It's not a recurring source of revenue. And I'd like to stress that it's not a recurring source of revenue. It's kind of like your savings account and your personal bank. Once it's gone, it's gone. So like I said, you don't want to use it. You want to use it for one-time investments, conservative budgeting, balance. If you need to borrow a little money from it to balance your budget 1 year, times like what we did last year for the current budget we're in right now. One-time investments would be capital projects, fixing roofs, keeping update with the HVAC, things like that. Again, here's your equation that I just mentioned. Your beginning fund balance plus your revenues during the year, less your expenditures during the year, and then you got an ending fund balance. And then we always talk about our fund balance and the different types that we have and how some of them are locked into certain priorities. And as you can see, as you start at the top, most restricted down to not restricted at all, the most constrained to no constraint whatsoever. Your non-spendables, usually your inventories or any prepaid items you would see at the end of the year. Restricted, it's imposed by law or externally imposed. Restricted is usually when we move money over to the capital reserve fund. When we put that into capital reserve, once you put it in there, you cannot take it back out for any day-to-day operations. And then the last three are more board controlled on an annual basis. You're committed, which is a formal action by the board, usually a board resolution. And right now we have like our PSERS and our healthcare costs. We have some fund balance assigned to any increase there. And then you're assigned, again, here at East Stroudsburg, we've always had the board do a board resolution when we move things around into different sections. With our current assigned, we have additional funds for capital projects, and also education, any educational new programs. That would be what you're in assigned. And then your unassigned, that's your catch-all. That's your after the whole school year, your fiscal year is over with, when everything shakes out with all your revenues, all your expenses, anything left over falls down into your unassigned. So then that, if it gets to a certain point, which I have there highlighted in red at 8% limit because of the size of our budget, we have an 8% limit. So anything over 8%, we would have to move out of the unassigned into another category, which you have done in the past. And this is a little more detail about the fund balance limits. And as I said, our budget is greater than $19 million. Our budget's actually over 160 million. So our limit is 8%. No, the only fund that has that limit is the general fund. So if you move all your money over to the capital reserve, there is no maximum amount of money you can have in that account, or in that fund. Act 1 timelines. Act 1 of 2006. This is when the state legislature put in some acts when the gambling funds came available, trying to lower taxes. So it's called the Taxpayer Relief Act of 2006. It requires the following: school districts' limitations on raising taxes. We have the base index, we have the adjusted index, an exception index, and then referendum. So base index is just comes out once a year by PDE. The adjusted index goes out to each district. So all districts have a base index is all the same. And then the adjusted index gets calculated with a formula based on cost of living in the area of the district, and then that will be adjusted. And then your exception index is if you want to go above your adjusted, you would have to apply to PDE for certain exceptions, which is your PSERS and special ed costs is your main exceptions. But you would have to apply for them for PDE. You're not guaranteed to get them, and then they assign the index once you apply. And if you want to go above and beyond your exceptions, you'd have to put it out to referendum and get a vote in the primary elections to have them pass to have their taxes raised. Again, your timeline is very tight and it's specific. I'll show you that next. The tighter deadlines for budget preparation, they give us timelines we have to hit each month. Property tax relief for approved homesteads and farmsteads, if available. Again, the district has that. That is part of the gambling funds that reduces your property taxes. Budget timeline. Here we are, December of 2020. The school board decision to move forward with a preliminary budget or an opt-out resolution, which is on the agenda today. If you choose the opt-out resolution, you will guarantee you will not raise your taxes above the currently index for this year. And we'll talk about that a little more on the next few slides. Or you would say, we may ask for exceptions, and we would have to prepare a preliminary budget for public review. And then that would be on display on January 28th, 2021. And the budget would demonstrate a need to exceed the Act 1 adjusted index with the intent to apply for the exceptions. And then February 17th, we'd have to have a preliminary budget approved by the board and submitted to PD for approval and determination of which exceptions they accept and if we would qualify for any. And then May 31st of 2021 is the deadline to approve the proposed final budget, which is when we do that our May board meeting. And then finally, 30 days later, after it's been public for 30 days, we can approve June 30th, 2021 is the final day we can approve our final budget. So as you can see, there's set goals that we have to hit every few months, and then it gets tighter right there in May and June. The index limitation prior law granted boards unlimited power to tax. Act 1 law imposes limitations on real estate tax increase. Increase is limited to an annual inflation index. Again, here's the exceptions to the index rule: special education, construction, and pension and construction. And the construction is slowly starting to wilter away. It's mostly the ones they normally approve would be your special ed costs and your pension costs. Voter approval in an election referendum in May of each year. Again, that's if you decide that you want to even go higher than the exceptions. Now we'll start getting into some interesting stuff. Hopefully no one's fallen asleep on me yet. Our Act 1 index. So the base index is for across the state is 3%. It's up from 2.6 last year. The adjusted index for East Stroudsburg Area School District is 4.2%, which is up from 3.6% from last year. If the board so chooses to raise the property tax 4.2%, you could generate an additional $4.9 million in new revenue. Act 1 decision is we have two options. We have a budget increase exceed the index available for public inspection on number 4, January 31st, 2021, which would give us the maximum tax increase, a mixture of a tax increase and using fund balance. You would need to make that decision at tonight's meeting. Or the other option, which the district has done for 9 consecutive years, I believe, possibly longer, pass a resolution not to increase taxes higher than the index. Does not mean you will raise the taxes to the index, but also means you can raise them somewhere in between that number. So somewhere between a 0 tax increase to a 4.2%. And also, if you do proceed with the first option, does not mean you will raise your taxes above the index. That's just giving you the option to be able to do that. So where does the money come from? As you can see, 36.36% of our revenue comes from the state. And I have in there special ed, basic ed, the PSERS reimbursement, which is about 50% of our salary, and then other state income. Local obviously is the largest of the three, and that is 65.65%. Majority of that is property taxes, and then there's the other taxes and some other grants that would fall under there. The federal, again, it's mostly the entitlements, almost 3% now. And then other sources is about 1%. That could be anything, sale of fixed assets, or any one-time funding source that we may encounter during the year. One thing I'd like to share is this 30.36%. 7 years ago when I came to the district, 8 years ago now, this was hovering around 22%. So the basic ed funding formula they created a few years back is actually benefiting the East Stroudsburg Area School District. It is gradual, slowly, but it is bringing up the state share, and that's what's helped us fend off raising taxes the last couple of years. Local revenues, 66% of the total district revenue is from our local economy. Real estate taxes is the largest component of the revenues, which is 56% of the total district revenue. Other taxes are 8%, which is income tax, your local services tax, and your delinquent property tax collections, which the last couple of years has been very, very good for the district. Real estate tax revenue depends upon Three things: your assessed values, which I mentioned has been increasing over the years. This year we saw a little dip. Collection rate, that 90.16% is what I'm estimating for this year, moving in. The 1920 fiscal year, which just ended June 30th, our collection rate was 89.01. So I bumped it up a little bit higher for some calculating purposes. And again, like I said, our millage rate or our assessed value rate kind of dropped. So I needed to try to get our millage rate to keep it equal as the board has done in the past, just for display purposes, and we can work on the increases as we move along. And then your millage rate. And that fluctuates depending on how we want to raise our taxes. And again, that's also based on your assessed values. And that's all 3 here will calculate what your tax bill will be that year. So your millage rate, the tax levy so East Stroudsburg is a unique district. There's not many multi-county districts in the state of Pennsylvania. So the tax levy must be balanced between Monroe and Pike counties by relative market values. The assessed values in Monroe County decreased by $41,700,000, a 1.57 decrease, and the assessed value slightly decreased in Pike County by $148,000. The collection rate also plays a factor in determining the millage rate between the two counties. So if someone's collecting higher at a higher rate, then that also, once you put the information into the state system, it'll spit out the rebalancing of the district's millage rates. So as you can see, by doing nothing, this is 2021, a current year, what our millage rate is currently. If we do nothing, and the board always says you do not want, in the past, they have always said they don't want to raise taxes. So just by not raising taxes in Monroe County, as you can see, Pike County millage rate actually drops. Which again, being a multi-county district, that is going to happen. If we want to raise Pike County up to keep Pike County at 123.66 mils, then Monroe counties would actually go up. So there's a new slide this year. I put in if the district increases the millage rate to 4.2% index. Again, it is a formula based driven through the software that the state provides. Again, that would be your 2021-22 with no increase. That is what your millage rate would look like for Monroe and Pike County. If the school board was to go use the full 4.2% increase, as you can see, Monroe County's millage would increase less than 2 mils, and Pike counties would actually increase by 7.6 mils. So we're going to talk about the state revenue. State revenue is 30.36% of total district revenue. This one we always like to flatline budget because it's difficult to anticipate state funding. Now, now we have how will the pandemic affect our subsidy? The state going into this year was about $5 billion behind from last year with their own collections. Going into this year, they're still struggling to make get some expected revenue. So I'm concerned. Hopefully, looking at the best case scenario this year, we will get a flat funding, just like we did this current year we're in. I mentioned this earlier, a few slides back. Our basic education funding formula is for new money only. Our percentage has grown from 22%. The state has a deficit and anticipates a lower than expected revenue in the next 6 months. So like I said, best case scenario, I'm hoping, we're all hoping that the state is going to flatline us again this year, and that will help us think down the line that if there is some bonus down the road. that would help later. Just hopefully it doesn't go backwards and they actually decrease our funding. And again, revenue and federal our federal and our other revenues. Again, the primary, the Title I and Title II and Title III programs. We're anticipating level funding there, not much of a change. Other revenue, which is proceeds from financing, which is our computer leases usually. Sale of fixed assets. You used to have the bus buyback program that had ended in 17, 18. But we do have our rotating leases of our computer equipment every 4 years. So that will generate some funds throughout the year for us. So total revenue estimates for this year. Again, we're being conservative. It's early in the budgeting process. I'm hoping and looking at our revenues right now, we may be able to change some of our local, increase our local a little better, get it back up to normal levels. Right now, they're pretty much right back at where we are now, where we budgeted for this current year. Again, we're flatlining our state. There was a little extra money in there because of the PSERS. And then our federal, you see a big decrease there. And that's because, remember, at the last minute in 2021, we budgeted here our $1.7 million of CARES Act money. So that kind of plugged us in there, and that's where you see a big difference there, which is about your CARES Act money. Now, late last night, the Congress did come up with a plan, and possibly the districts might be getting some more funding, similar to how we received this most recent last year's funding. So hopefully we'll be able to add some more federal funding in here and hopefully they don't have as much restrictions on it as the current one now does, where we have to spend new money. Hopefully they'll finally see what this is doing to local governments and trying to keep up with their local revenues. So hopefully they'll allow us to use it to backfill some of our revenue losses. But that's a wait and see. Well, the more news will come out over the next week or two. So where does all that money go? As I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about our different functions and objects, salaries and benefits are 72% of our budget. We have 1,200 staff, which makes up that 72% of our budget. And we do investments in our students. Wage and benefits represent the largest share of our costs, 72%. Then our debt service is 11%. That equals 83% of the district's costs are fixed. We're locked into those costs either with our association contracts and our debt service. By contrast, less than 20% of the district's costs are variable. Supplies, books, contracts, professional services, utilities, purchase services, maintenance, and equipment. But even some of those are not directly controllable by the district. You remember slide 16 that I mentioned earlier? We have a special ed costs, alternative ed services, charter school tuition, our insurances, just like you do at your home. Insurances do increase annually. Sometimes utilities. We've been getting some fantastic rates on our utilities, so I don't see too much of an increase there. But sometimes they're not controllable by the district. And then comparing this current year to the next year's budget, salary and benefit costs are projected to increase 3.7%, which is about 3.1% increase. Again, those are contracted obligations that that are already settled. And then also that includes your PSERS increase and your healthcare increase. This is a very interesting slide I'd like to show today here. And this I have to give a lot of credit to the administration and the other departments. because we asked them to try their best to keep their increases as low as possible. We even actually asked them not to increase their budget, even try to cut back as much as they can. And so as you can see, with all that, we have our non-salary and benefit costs are projected to only increase by $284,000, which is a 0.6% increase. Again, I give a lot of credit to the staff for helping us achieve that. And in that number is about a $2 million increase in charter school expected costs for next year. So there was a lot of work that was done by the administration throughout the district to help us keep costs increase as minimal as possible. So our total investments throughout the district is total investment is increased to a 2.39%, which is only about a $4 million increase over this current year's budget. As you see, we estimated $165 million. This next year we're estimating $169 million budget. And then we'll break it down how we invest this in our students. Again, instruction, I mentioned earlier, that's our largest piece, just like our salaries and benefits. Our instruction is 56.63% of our budget. So almost 60% of our budget, of our investments, our expenditures are going directly into the instruction of the students. And then the support of our students is an additional 31.37% of our budget. These are your operations. This is your transportation costs, the business office, student health. The non-instructional and debt is 12% of the budget, which is your debt service, which we mentioned earlier is about 11%, then about 1% at student activities, which are your activities after school activities. Here's my dollar bill. Where the district's dollars go? 70% of every dollar is spent direct or indirectly supporting student learning. That is a great number. That's a high number. And for a school district to have that is kudos to the superintendents and assistant superintendents for working to keep everything else down, to keep putting all the money back into our students. 15 cents of every dollar is spent on maintenance and operations, keeping the operations of our buildings clean and functional for our students and our staff, and also the transportation costs. 10 cents on every dollar is spent on debt service. And then 5 cents of every dollar is spent on your administration costs. So that means for your administration, you're spending 5 cents on every dollar on the administrative costs. So in summary, these are our preliminary results. Again, as you can see, our revenue is down 0.3%. And again, that's due to the CARES funding there, and everything else we kind of kept stable and level funded. Salary and benefits have increased 3%. And then our other investments, our other expenditures throughout the district is 0.6%. So we're going, as our first run through our budget process, we're anticipating $9,600,000 decrease or loss for the district currently as we stand today. So again, balancing the budget, we got to look at our revenues and our expenditures, and then we got our fund balance there also. So it's a balancing act. How are we going to do this? Are we going to raise taxes? Are we going to raise taxes and use some fund balance? Or are we going to remove some programs from the district? So some board decision points today. Real estate taxes, the Act 1 index, 4.2%. which in turn will generate $4.9 million for the district. Fund balance, 8% limit on unrestricted fund balance, budget approval only. Again, we could use fund balance. Again, I'm not a big fan of using the fund balance to balance your budget. We are, like I talked about back in May and June, we are in different times right now. Our revenues are falling short. It's not that our expenses are going, our reoccurring expenses are getting out of control, but something to think about. And then budget adjustments, prioritize our needs. Do we want to increase class size? Do we want to reduce staff? Do you want to reduce programs? Or do you want to do a combination of all three? We can do a combination of all three. It's up to the board to help the administration decide which path to go down. So your key takeaways today is we're projecting a $9.6 million deficit. The Act 1 index is 4.2%, or generates $4.9 million if you use the all 4.2%. And the December decision, do we do a preliminary budget or opt-out resolution, which is on the agenda today. And now that I probably put everyone to sleep, does anyone have any questions? I like silence. I hope you're not sleeping on me.
There's a lot of information there, Tom.
It's a lot, and I apologize, but I feel you were given this what you're packing on Friday, so hopefully when you read through it and hopefully get an understanding now.
When we began this process last year around December, we had a $6 million deficit.
Correct.
In our
Yes.
planned budget. And towards the middle of March, we had it down to about a couple $100,000 deficit. So when the public
Yes.
sees $9 million, it is a substantial amount of money. Doesn't mean that it's going to be that at the end of the day. There is some work that we do towards that. Of course,
Correct.
The pandemic just changed everything at the third, fourth week of March. But don't get frightened by the numbers right now. There's still a lot of time and a lot of work that goes into refining the budget, honing it in, looking at all aspects of it, and doing our best to bring it to where it needs to be. So I personally appreciate the fact that you show us at a deficit, because it makes us kind of work a little harder to do better, to find out what we need to do to bring the balance back in the budget back into balance. That's it. Any other comments?
Tom, you mentioned on page 35 about, I wanted to stop you there and say, you were saying if we raise the mill 4.2 index, it was, how much was it for Pike County?
128.8537.
So that's like a 7, did you say 7% or something? So if we're raising it 4 at Monroe, we're raising it 7 in Pike?
Yes, I can't explain it. It's just how the system, they use a grading scale, and there's many of us trying to figure out how this formula, how do they come up with these numbers?
I just wanted to be clear. I thought I heard you say that, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, it's about 7 mils. It goes up 7.5 mils increase.
And the opt-out, remind me again.
The opt-out means you will not raise your taxes higher than the 4.2%. Once you sign that resolution and we send it to the state, there's no turning back of asking for exceptions.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Tom, if we do
Yeah,
nothing, then Pike kind of gets a decrease. Correct?
Yes, correct. If you say we're not raising taxes at all, that is correct.
And tonight we're not saying the amount, if we are whatever, it's just a matter of, do we want to exceed the Act 1 index?
Index piece.
Correct. You do not set your millage until the June board meeting.
Right.
So you'll have 6 months to figure out a plan.
Okay, anything else? All right, well done, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Look
Tom.
forward to next year's budget from you.
All right.
That's correct. Me too.
He thinks I'm joking. All right, so moving on now to public participation, limited to comments on the agenda by residents and taxpayers of the school district, 3 minutes each, and I'll look for raised hands at this time. I did see Daryl earlier. There she goes. So I'm going to allow her to talk. See if this works. There she is.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, awesome, thanks. I know that Rebecca puts back or asked to put onto the agenda bringing sports back for, I think it was January 2nd or 4th, I don't remember the date, but I'm asking or reminding everybody that sports is a voluntary thing, and you do not have to send your child to their sports. So if we can keep that in mind while you guys are making your decisions on when we can start up sports again, you know, some kids need this to get into college. And I know for my child, he's going to need this to get into the military because he goes in to be sniper, and being on rifle, he needs to practice. So I'm just saying that it is a voluntary thing. It's not like school where I'm saying, you know, it's mandatory. We really shouldn't be there right now, but I'm just saying, keep that in the back of the mind while you're making your decisions on if we should be going back to sports or not. I also would like to ask for you guys to very much keep in mind that rifle and wrestling, I know, are in the same building, and you do not want two sports to be practicing at the same time, but please keep in mind that rifle has its own door. They do not walk into the same place. Rifle team will never go outside where the wrestling team is. Rifle team has its own filtered air, and the rifle team is separated by themselves. They also, meaning they don't touch each other while they're shooting, obviously. And they will be virtual all of their entire season. They don't even go to another town to shoot. So I'm just saying, if you can keep that in mind, even if you want them to walk through the building, one team at 2:30 and one team at 3 o'clock, it's just, it wouldn't be very fair that the rifle team would have to go at 8 o'clock at night. So I'm just kind of reminding everybody who is voting tonight about sports that it's voluntary. And that was all I really had to say tonight. Thank you.
Rich, you're muted.
All right, next up is Chris Witty.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I guess I'll piggyback on what Daryl was saying. I know a lot of parents and kids that really need the social interaction and enjoy and work hard to be safe and get out there and do the sports. And it's very important for them. So I sort of agree with what she was saying about it's a voluntary thing, that if kids and their parents are understanding of the rules and the conditions, that they should be allowed to do that. And I'm glad you put that on the agenda. Similarly, I know that you all have seemed in the past to be very open to looking at all the facts out there. And you probably did see that the American Academy of Pediatrics put out another article just this month on the balance of the harm of kids not being in school versus the general low probability of caregivers getting COVID-19. So again, that was just this month in December. But again, I wanted to thank you all for your work. I also wanted to thank Mr. McIntyre for the presentation and ask if he can put that on the website. I did not see that out there because it will take time for us to maybe review that in depth. And one last thing before I go, we had a snow day last week, which is great. It was good to have snow. The kids enjoyed it. I would just ask if somehow we consider going forward, because at the end of this whole process, at the end of the school year, I can tell you the parents, the kids, with everything they've gone through, are not going to want to stay longer than they have to. So if there are days where there are not power outages, or like last week, there were not power outages. So if the school had done like a Wednesday style teaching where kids are given things to do at home, and then after the fact, if in fact there were not a lot of people without power, then I think that would, go down as a regular school day. I mean, obviously, if people are out of power and can't get on the internet, that's an exception. But I'm just trying to think of all the parents and kids who, while we all enjoy snow, we're all doing this remotely now. We're used to it. We know what to do. And if the power's on, it'd be nice to just carry on and get the school year, continuing. So that's it. Thanks for my time.
Thank you very much, Chris. Moving on to Angelina. You're not available because you're using an older version of Zoom, and you need to restart your reload your Zoom, update your system. Okay.
Michelle's her mom. She's on there as the next two people down, so I guess she can talk for her mom when her mom comes up.
We can do that. All right. I'm going to jump now to Nathan. Nathan, you're on.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I didn't really. I've been busy with the kids here this last hour and a half here. Did my best to hear. I didn't hear anything about opening school. I don't know if you're voting on that yet or not. But as far as me and my wife stand, we really want our kids to go back full time, 5 days a week. We have a special needs child who's regressing very badly. And a 5-year-old who is mimicking her behavior and was doing great during the hybrid when he started kindergarten, and now he's doing badly too. And from what I talked to about other parents, they all seem to want to go back full time too. Maybe it's just my group of peers, but I could say for sure my family is struggling very much with this online learning and with internet problems. I'm missing work. Trying to, me and my wife both work, and then some of us, we had to take time off or even if we have family, we have to drive them. It's killing us. And we just want everything to be back to normal as quickly as possible.
Your comments are noted. Thank you very much, Nathan. Anything else?
No, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Next up is Michelle Hiller.
Hi, I'm going to actually have Angelina talk first since her thing wasn't up. So this is Angelina. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm a sophomore and wrestler on our high school team. I'm talking on behalf of the wrestling team, and I'm asking you, our school board members, to allow us to have winter sports in practice. Hold on.
Sports too.
In order for us to compete, we need 15 practices. However, this opportunity is being taken away from us. I find it very unfair that every other school in the county has had the opportunity to start practicing, but we haven't. This puts other teams in front of us and allowing them to have an advantage. Not being able to have the choice to go into school is unfair to the students and parents that rely on school. Not only is it easier and a better environment for learning, but school is a huge escape for many kids. Some children don't have the best home life and rely on school to get them away from the distractions. Many kids also suffer from mental illness, which have only become worse due to the conditions we're in. Taking away school, which is a safe place and a distraction from all that's going on in the world and our community, has affected people tremendously. A place that was once an escape has now been taken away from us completely. Our school and district has already had several cases of suicides due to the pandemic. Worldwide cases are increasing and mental health illness is getting worse. So many kids feel like they have nobody to go to and no outlet to get away. As a student athlete, I rely on sports and look forward to practice and competition as not only a huge stress reliever, but a way to get my mind off of things. I know all the wrestlers feel the same way, and I'm sure many of the other winter athletes could agree with me. I believe it's important for students who want to practice and compete to be able to have the same opportunity as every other school does. The PIAA has even recommended winter sports, and studies show that exercise and sports have positively improved mental health. Just like the other schools in our county have decided to do, we have to start practicing January 4th to get our full 15 days in. I don't understand why we aren't able to when literally every other school, including our neighboring school, Strasbourg, is allowed to have the opportunity. We also have several student athletes on our team who have a good chance to make it far in districts, regionals, and states. These students also happen to be seniors. Not allowing us to practice and compete is completely taking away not only chances of a scholarship, but their ability to achieve personal goals in college recruitment. Not only would allowing us to participate help with mental health, but it would also allow every student athlete to get the same opportunity as everyone else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Angelina. Michelle, do you have comments?
Yes, I do. I'm actually piggyback off of most of the parents already. I did want to have one comment at the beginning. I forget who spoke about it, about how we're including a lot of trauma education, and I feel like that's an important piece. Of course, due to the unforeseen circumstances that we're in, but I believe that that's a really important piece. So I was glad to hear that our school district is participating in that. I also wanted to, of course, support that the athletes and also what was said before as far as the rifle and the wrestling, we definitely do not see each other and they definitely are separated. So I think it was a good suggestion to come in, you know, maybe just a few minutes after or like a 30-minute window time where they definitely won't be crossing paths. So I think that that's really good. The other thing that I also wanted to talk about was changing the health plan to include in-person learning, even though we're insubstantial. We're one of the only schools in our county that does not offer an option for in-person learning. Strasbourg, starting January 4th, is allowing up to 4 days in person. That's just one of the schools that I recently was able to track down what they were up to. But some schools are 5 days a week that aren't even in the county, like the IU down in Allentown, 5 days a week in person. A lot of other schools are offering in-person learning, and I feel like what Mr. Hill had also mentioned, that there are a lot of families struggling. There's a lot of families that are struggling that don't even know about the school board meeting right now, that are just like living on a prayer, praying that somehow the schools are able to go back in person. And according to that health plan on page 51, which I had sent in my email, I'm sure you're probably sick of my emails by now, but I appreciate you reading them, that you know, we had the option to, even insubstantial, to offer in-person learning versus staying completely virtual. And I just really wanted to impress upon the board to look at that, because the in-person learning to some degree is really, really beneficial. Research backs it, the CDC backs it, the American Pediatrics back it, research, Dr. Fossey was saying it. I mean, there's no substitute for that. And I think that as a parent, we should, and a guardian or family, we should be able to have that option. And East Stroudsburg isn't giving that option at all of in-person learning. And if you stick to virtual the whole entire time we're insubstantial, we could be out of school for months. And I don't agree with that. And I feel like as a parent, we should be able to decide, like, hey, you know what? It benefits our kids to have in-person learning. We're going to send them. Or, hey, it doesn't. I'm going to keep them virtual. At least give us the option. Like back when we started in August, we were given an option. And if the health plan stays substantial, that we have to stay virtual, we're not given an option. So I really feel that we need that as an option. I feel like these kids need the sports because, once again, the sports are voluntary. The families can decide, hey, my kid trains 4 hours a day. He needs this for his mental health. My daughter needs this. Or, hey, you know what? They don't really need that much. They're fine on the treadmill at home. You know, like everybody's different. And I feel like that we need those options, and that the benefits outweigh the risk for some people about sending them to school and allowing them to participate. So I appreciate all your help during this time, and I just thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. All right. Next up is Vernon.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. What happened?
He's not there. You gotta bring him back in. There he is.
Let's try that again. There we go. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vernon Mobley, and I am the head girls basketball coach at East Stroudsburg North. I would like to say I appreciate everything that the board has done to try and make sure that all of the students within the school district stay safe. I would like to also say I would like for you to consider the many aspects and the many positive things that kind of happen with all of the students, athletes, in addition to the physical activity. In basketball, there's a theory that basketball is 85% mental. And so it's the mental aspects that causes you to be successful on the court. There are many mental aspects that we are trying to inspire with the girls basketball team, and I know all of the winter coaches are trying to do the same thing. Myself personally, as well as my entire coaching staff, has done the best we can to try and continue to stay in contact with student athletes through Remind, through anything we possibly can, but they are losing faith and they are suffering. I'm listening to parents talk about how their children are suffering at school, suffering at home by not having the interaction. And that, of course, goes for all of the student athletes. As you consider voting on tonight, whether to allow us to practice, I ask you to please consider the very, again, many aspects that are not physical. Yes, the physical things are very important. It allows the kids to move, but there are so many other things that the student athletes are not getting right now. I'm a product of high school basketball, college basketball, and it was very important to me. It helped shape the person who I am now. You have kids who are shaping their character, they're shaping their future, they are shaping their opinions right now. And a lot of that stuff happens in the midst of their sports seasons. They have to deal with other players, they have to deal with coaches, they have to deal with rules, they have to deal with discipline. There are many things that are involved with them being involved with sports, not just the physical aspect. So I ask, when you vote tonight, I ask you to please consider that. Go North.
All right, thank you very much. All right, appreciate your comments, Vernon. I see no other hands at this time. No other raised hands. So with that being said, we will now move to unfinished business, which there is none. So we'll move to new business. And so the board will accept a motion to approve revisions to the health and safety plan for the East Stroudsburg Area School District. And so the plan in, Dr. Riker, the plan that we do have in the book really doesn't represent any changes, does it?
It does, Rich. It represents the changes you made last month when you moved to a fully remote model as of the end of November, beginning of December. It does not include any of the options that I presented to the board in my brief on Friday. Should you choose to come back under any of those options, under the substantial level of community spread. So if the board would like to consider one of those options, then that option would be added to the approval of tonight's health and safety plan.
We discuss it.
Once you get a motion and a second, yes.
Yes, please.
So
I'll make the motion.
Right. With motion for, we need a motion and a second. Yep. So we got Lisa.
I make the motion, yeah.
And I'll second it for Lisa so we can discuss it.
So a motion, a second discussion. All right.
All right. Can I just say that I know you put that out there, Billy, but I can't find it right now.
It's
So,
on the screen.
oh, okay, there we go. Okay.
So option one is just to return to our hybrid schedule as it was prior to the day we decided to go to full virtual. Scroll down a little bit more. Option two is to, for K through 5, basically, hybrid model. And that's the 2 days a week, 3 off. Option 3 will return a hybrid model for K through 3. And in addition to group C and D, which is the special education, children IEPs. And then option 3 also allows, yeah.
You're fine.
Right.
I just said the IU is group D.
Okay, IU is group D.
And this
Groups
is
F and G.
Substantial.
Yeah, this is, all of this is under substantial, all of this.
Currently, the board has said that you would not return to any in-person instruction prior to January 15th. And the actual date, because the 18th is a holiday, that's Monday, Martin Luther King Day, you would not actually return to school until the 19th. So these are options that you could choose to put into place at any time you'd like, or starting the 19th of January.
Well,
like option 1, because I think not just elementary school kids will benefit from in-person learning. I think middle school as well as high school. I know I personally see my daughter struggle every day with the online learning. You know, it's difficult for her to sit in front of a computer screen that long every day. She's getting migraine headaches. Besides the fact that every month I get an email and a text from Blue Ridge Communication, you're approaching your maximum amount of internet bandwidth that you get, and I've increased it twice, and yet it's still at 75%. And I know that there are many families struggling with their internet bills, since, you know, obviously Blue Ridge is unfortunately the only game in town. And the more time that they spend online for school from 8 in the morning until almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's all, you know, using the internet, and they're downloading videos and watching things, and it's getting very expensive. And, you know, we have parents that are working from home using their internet as well. So theirs is probably even more than mine, because I do go into the office every day, and, you know, I'm leaving my, 13 and 16-year-old home and hoping and checking on them multiple times a day to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. And if it's stressful for me, I know it's got to be stressful for other parents as well. So I think, during insubstantial, we should go back to option 1, and parents could have the choice. If they don't want to send them, they can possibly still do what they're doing now and just join the class live. I don't know if that's an option, but
is it just
at some point too, we're going to have to consider, when do we go back 5 days a week? Because if we stay substantial or moderate, when is the right time to go back 5 days? And that's something I think we need to start to consider as well.
I agree, Rebecca, and I would like to see, where's the option for 5 days a week?
Right, that's what I'm saying. When do we say that's an okay time? Like, when is
Exactly,
that?
because we do have the options, like I said before, for anybody, if they don't feel comfortable with that, we have all those options available. We have the Asaka program. Some people are in cyber, people have a choice. And as we heard tonight, the public is crying out basically to us. And it's not only these people that I hear, it's people on the street. So when we going back, they know what's going on. They know, all the, what do you want to say? All the news that's out there. They know we're in substantial mode. They understand that. But again, you know, so at the very least, I think we should choose option one. And whenever I don't even think we should wait. I think we should go back when the school is, I don't have the calendar. That's what I was looking for when Christmas break is over.
So we chose to do the January 19th, 21st, whatever that date is there.
The
Because we wanted to give
19th.
2 week 19th, because we wanted to give 2 weeks
After
after
the holiday.
Christmas.
Right.
Correct.
Just to
So,
let
okay.
the process
Okay.
move
All
through.
right. I don't necessarily disagree with that, Rich, but I want to make sure that's firm then, because, you know,
Right.
I think we need to
So-
get back to school. We need to get back to life.
So can I say that I get very frustrated when people say, let's get back to normal, let's get back to this, that, the other, because there is not a normal right now. And I understand and empathize with all of the various issues that families are dealing with. But the reality is that there is an outbreak. There are people that are not necessarily sharing that they've been exposed and or at being in spaces and with others and are coming into the buildings and the facilities. So that's a concern. But also that as we make a decision, I have not yet heard anybody consider that going back right away or full-time is forcing people into the classroom that also have concerns, like the teachers, like those that are in the classroom with the students. So there's a lot for us to consider. But another thing that is frustrating is that we make a decision that we think is best, and then we go back. And so Lisa, to your point, if you don't have an issue with going back on the 19th, as we had said, then we should be discussing this at the next meeting and not going back again. And then to the point about who's speaking up, every person has an opportunity, or we need to create them better opportunities for people to be able to share. But we do jump when people come on to these meetings and say what they have to say. And oftentimes it is the same people, and that's great. And I appreciate that they come on and that we're in partnership, but we can't assume that a group of people is speaking up for everyone. We do have kids that started in the hybrid program that have some health issues and they took the leap of faith, but now to switch to ESASD would mean that we would have to shift the way that they're learning, what they're learning, when they're learning. There's going to be a learning curve there as well. So let's be mindful of some of that.
I have to agree though with Lisa in that if I understand it correctly, so and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if a person doesn't want, or parent does not want their child to go into the brick and mortar, they can stay on remotely. This is so that we can have those children that want to go to brick and mortar, go to brick and mortar. And then that is my, is my understanding correct on that?
No, not exactly, George.
No, we can't.
No.
Okay.
We
Just
can't.
want to go back to option one.
That's a staffing concern, and it creates a greater concern at the elementary level than the secondary. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is not an accurate perception of what we could do.
Enough teachers to teach both.
I think I just misspoke when I said, you know, we have options and they can choose their options. I think parents primarily chose their option in the beginning of the school year. So I don't think that they're going to flip-flop necessarily now. In fact, you might have more actually coming back to the actual brick and mortar school.
Which is a flip-flop in itself.
The evidence doesn't support what we're doing and staying out of school.
But people's reality.
You and I can go round and round, but
well, and we should, right? Because we have to look at all angles and we have to be able to present all possible situations. But
not just the students, we want to keep the
Kids
staff
come
safe.
first.
Okay, guys, hold on, one at a time. One at a time. I think Damari was still speaking, so let's just.
No, I was saying that if people are going back to brick and mortar, then that is a level of flip-flop per se. And if we are expecting that, then we need to get ready for that. But then we would need to conduct a survey and find out. I would hate for us to go back on a decision that we made because we have people that are coming on and voicing their concerns, but many others are not able to voice their concerns for different reasons. And we're not taking that into account. So I don't mind going back and forth and discussing all of the issues. We should be doing that. We have a responsibility to do that. I'm not upset about that.
But if we choose option one, we are not going back on anything we said. Our board meeting is the day before class is, supposed to go back in session as we decided last month. I just want to reassure the fact that we're going to go back.
Okay, so I think we're talking about different things. Are you saying that you want to stick with going back, start date on the 19th, or are you saying you want to change that date and move it up? That's what I'm questioning, because there are a lot of things going on.
Well, I'm okay with going back on the night. I just want to assure the 19th. I would be happier to go back sooner, but I'm one of 9, and I understand that.
Right.
Thank you for that's clarifying. Discussion on the whatever meeting, right?
Plan that we set out at our last meeting, where we gave the 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, obviously, so we can clear that, and we're still learning remote. And now we have 2 weeks after Christmas break, so people know, okay, if you were someplace that you weren't supposed to be during Christmas break, you're going to have time to quarantine and do what you need to do to make sure that if you had chosen originally hybrid program, that on January 19th, you are to report to school on your A day if you're an A day, or a B if you're a B, and know that we trust the fact that you've done everything you were supposed to do to be a good Samaritan and take the precautions that you're supposed to take, not only to protect yourself, to protect your fellow classmates, to protect your bus driver, your secretaries, your teachers, your support staff, everybody and that's why we took this time, so that we can reflect and do what you wanted to do over break. We understand that you want to see your family. We get that. But now you have those 2 weeks to do what you're supposed to do, lock down, be responsible, so we can return to our quote unquote normal of hybrid program if that is what you chose.
So Rebecca, I like the quote unquote. I'd rather we use quote unquote, but also, so you're in favor of returning on the 19th as well. I'm just trying to understand what we're talking about.
I would like to go back to hybrid, like we had said, not to 5 days, but to hybrid.
Right.
So
Okay.
We can keep our classrooms small.
Right.
And the way they should be, and the A days and the B days, so that the kids can get that interaction with their teachers and that support from the teachers that they need. Because I know it's been stressful on the teachers. I've heard it from the teachers. It's very difficult for them to connect or to feel that connection with the students that they were feeling in the hybrid program. I'm
in favor of the 19th as well. I just thought we were trying to change it.
No. I want to go I just want option 1, not 2 or 3. I want option 1, because I think that every student, regardless of grade, deserves the same that, a K through 3 deserves, or a K through 5. Like if you felt that hybrid was right before, I know we're substantial, but maybe, hopefully, we'll stabilize, maybe we'll stay substantial. But as long as our numbers aren't skyrocketing more and we can kind of keep status quo, I'm okay with them going back the 19th in hybrid. That's where I'm at with it. But I want to make everybody feel safe, and I don't want big classes yet. I don't think we're ready for that. But they do need the people that chose hybrid, they chose it, and I think that they embraced it and they finally got used to it, and then they're adjusting now, but I don't think they're getting everything out of the education that they can get.
Debbie has her hand up. You want to speak, Debbie? Or is that from before?
I agree that we have agreed that we're going to wait on the weeks after the holidays, which I think is a smart thing. I think that part of the anxiety on behalf of students, if we allow them to start doing their practices on the 4th, that will help to ease that anxiety as well for the sports. So maybe I'm rolling them both together, maintaining our original thought when we return to hybrid and starting on the 4th. That's what I wanted to throw out there.
Okay. So they are 2 separate issues, but we'll take them separately a little bit later on. So what I'm getting from this group here is that we're leaning towards option 1 on the 19th, reopening school in the hybrid even with substantial spread, because it is important. And I see it in my own kids. I know that they need to be back in classroom and be with their peers. We've been able to demonstrate all throughout the time, you know, four elementary buildings had 0 cases of COVID during during our initial experience.
And one had a breakout.
And one that had a breakout, and we have to address that too. But, you know, we can start from 0 here.
Amongst the student body.
So, yeah. So is that the direction I think we're going?
Am I making that motion?
Option 1. You want somebody want to make a motion for option 1?
If you want a second, what Lisa's, I think, prepared to say.
I'll make the motion for option 1.
I'll
So
second it.
motion for option 1 to return to school as scheduled on January 19th, the hybrid program.
Wait.
Yep. Larry?
Yeah, what's the state recommendation at this time? What's the guidance from the state?
I don't know.
State's guidance is
That's
to-
funny.
State's guidance is to remain remote until you are in, it's option 4. Let me just say it that way.
Till eternity.
Can we show option 4 for the public to see it if they haven't seen it in advance?
I wondered if there was more to that screen.
There was.
Scroll down.
Can't see it.
We never really got past 1, so. So, as we know, our peers in our county are still going virtual. Not virtual, in a hybrid option. You know, we do have the opportunity for some students to move towards the hybrid if they are virtual if they need to. Doing this earlier now, this time, allows for families to make that adjustment, allows the district to reprogram its staff as necessary. You know, and of course, if things change in a building or district-wide, we need to move to shut down a building for a couple days, basically following our plan.
Rich, can you clarify for families what will happen? Should we vote option 1 if they are in the hybrid program and do not, because this goes to George's question, and do not want to report to school, as Rebecca clarified, on January 19th or January 20th?
They will need to contact the district, and the district will work on placement in a virtual program. So it may need, you know, and that does get a little more complicated, and I'm sure Dr. Riker can speak to that, right?
Yeah.
Can we speak to that? That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Thanks, Dr. Riker.
Yes, Rich is correct, Dr. Bonilla. If we had families that were in hybrid and the board goes with option 1 and they choose to not continue in the hybrid model, there is a document they fill out. They can contact their student's school, and they will work to get them placed in one of the classes for the ESASD program.
Which means they would be changing their teacher and their class, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we need to make sure that we're mindful of the trauma that change is causing when we talk about the options for all children.
Just out of curiosity, is if they just, how much time do they need to make that switch? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? Do they have to let you know now? What if they let you know on the 19th? How quickly can they get from hybrid to ESASD?
So that's a great question. It really will depend on the numbers. You know, we have been making those moves throughout the year. And in fact, the trend has been more students moving to ESASD than coming back to brick and mortar. So we have been doing that, but if this decision caused a spike in that number, we would have to really look at staffing and whether we had the staffing to be able to do that program well, based on the numbers that would make that request. So that's a great question. There would be students that would may not, based on the number, be able to immediately be placed there. So I would agree with the question was, would that help if we knew that information sooner than later? Yes, sooner the better.
So Dr. Riker, I do want to piggyback on that and point out that you stated that the trend is leaning more towards kids leaving brick and mortar,
Yes.
going to ISACA, which is different than what some of my colleagues were saying about what more people want. So the data in terms of our district is showing that more people want their kids virtual at this time.
I would say that's correct.
Thank you.
And what I'd like to say to that is the ISACA program is very different than the hybrid learning program. There's a lot more flexibility for families with in the ISACA program than there is the hybrid remote program that we're doing right now. Am I correct in stating that, Dr. Riker?
Yes, I would say you're correct.
Okay, so that's why I'm saying that the ones that choose hybrid should be able to go back, because it's very difficult for families who chose hybrid in the beginning to stay hybrid remote than it is to be ISACA remote, because of the lack of flexibility with hybrid remote, where students have to be mandated to be on their computer for 7 hours a day, 4 days a week. Whereas if they're ISACA remote, most of theirs are not 7 hours straight of online learning. They can go off for a while, go on, move at their own pace through the program.
I do 8 hours at night.
So that's my point, why I think those that chose hybrid want to go back to hybrid because of the learning model of the way it's set up. It's wonderful that they can learn that way since we had to pull them right now, but it's also very difficult on students to be on the computer that long, that much screen time in one day, in 1 week.
Correct. And I'm glad that we're talking about everything. My kids are hybrid just like yours. And that's why we've tried to build in breaks and we've tried to build in other opportunities. It is exhausting. They get tantrums. They're on the floor. It's tough for a lot of us. I'm just saying that people chose hybrid based on the plan that we had come up with and the security that we were going to follow data in terms of where we were with the virus, if it was substantial or not. We did say we would be flexible and fluid. I tried to bring that up before when I motioned for us to give a little more time for the start of the school year. Nobody wanted to be flexible and fluid then. So I'm just saying, let's be mindful of all of the different things that we're talking about, and that for those kids, if they were going to go to ISACA, they would have to change their teacher and their classroom, and there would be implications for that as well at this time of the school year.
I think it's also important to note right now that
level and high school level, they can take breaks, but they're not allowed to take breaks. They have to be at their computer 7 hours straight. There is no break.
So one of the things I want to point out is that the reason I've come to this kind of decision to move personally towards going back to the hybrid is because even with the substantial level of spread, we have not seen the overwhelming numbers of people in the hospital and the substantial number of deaths that we did see back in March and April. And so what we're really seeing is better management of the virus, the disease in the community, but also we're also getting to this point where we're just about ready for receiving the vaccine. I know that staff at Lehigh Valley and at Pocono, both Lehigh Valley Pocono and at St. Luke's, have already started receiving the vaccine. There's opportunities now that we haven't quite had before. And every week, every few weeks, there's going to be just more and more people that are eligible for obtaining the vaccine. And I'm hopeful that by mid-April, we'll be in a much better space. But what I've seen is that my kids, they're challenged by this. This is really difficult. And we've been very good at managing our students and managing masking and managing social distancing in the district. And I think that, we need to continue that way. Now, I've said a bunch. I haven't heard from Sharon. I don't know if you want to chime in here at all, or any, Larry or Wayne.
Let's call for the vote.
I think you've pretty much covered most of the bases. I know as a parent, it's challenging. I just feel like my little one, and not a little one, but a young lady, is just very demotivated to get it done.
That's right.
She's in Osaka, so she has some flexibility as to when she can, but the biggest issue is the completeness of what needs to be done. So I think we're all feeling it. It's draining because it's just really draining. And I think that they're mentally not in their right space. Like their whole demeanor is changing daily. And as a parent, I'm just coping because he's driving, both of us crazy. But I hear both, all sides, and I'm still committed to the option that parents can make a choice. And I think option 1 provides a solid choice on the 19th.
Anything from you guys over there in at George's house? Wayne?
There we go, Rich.
Does option 1 allow those parents the option of doing 5-day brick and mortar? If they choose to.
It's hybrid, I think.
So it's just hybrid.
Just hybrid. And we have to do that for the social distancing side. I mean, that's we can't go 5 days a week right now. That's just.
But it does give Rich. It does give them the ABCD option that they had previously. So if they had opted for the 4 days, they can still go the 4 days like they did before.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's vote.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good. Option 1.
All right. So we have a motion and we have a second to go with option 1 starting the 19th of January. We've had some discussion. I've heard that we should go to a vote. We'll do a voice vote here, see how that goes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
Larry?
Larry?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the motion passes. So starting January 19th, we'll return to a hybrid model. And the district will soon inform parents that if they want to make a change to that status of their child doing hybrid, they should contact the district as soon as possible to help them with their planning and coordinating activities after that. All right.
We send us like a connect that out, reminding parents that we are going back and to confirm their choice, maybe?
I'm certain that that's going to be planning on the district side, right?
Correct.
We've just ruined their Christmas vacation. Let's just be honest here, right? What vacation?
Necessarily.
All right, so,
we did say the 19th originally, so.
we did say the 19th. Okay. All right. Motion to approve revisions to the emergency instruction.
Rich, before
Okay.
you get to that, I felt like we had 2 motions on the table. The one was that
We
one.
did have winter sports, right?
I don't think we voted to actually approve the revisions to the health and safety plan. Am I
Okay.
mistaken?
Probably not.
We didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was the vote to approve the option 1 for 119. Now let's have a vote to approve the revisions as presented.
Okay. So now we need a motion to approve the revisions as presented.
We have
We have.
I have Lisa and Rebecca for that motion.
Okay. Discussion?
Now the amendment to our health and safety allows our students to participate in winter extracurricular activities.
No, that's not that
That's a
option.
separate motion later on, Wayne, and I added to the agenda that we have to vote on.
Motion. That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay. So yes. So no, and so yes, we need to approve the revisions now. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, now Chris, can I move on to the motion to approve revisions to the emergency instructional time schedule? as presented?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I'll take a motion.
Motion, Lisa. Anyone else?
I'll second it.
Anyone else want to join?
Rich, I'd just like to add, the reason for this was the calendar got extended by 1 day. So we had to change the date that was on it from January 3rd to the 4th. I would like you to approve the motion with the idea that that day may move to the 5th due to our snow day. So you don't have to keep doing this, hopefully, moving forward. So it will be either the 4th or the 5th would be the date that would be listed on this plan.
Okay. And that's June, right?
Yes, June.
Yes, June, not January. You make a lot of people happy if you said January, but I don't think that was what you meant. All right.
That was weird. Okay.
Yeah, if I said January, yeah, I meant June.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, second.
Got that.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now we need a motion to affirm and adopt the attestation ensuring implementation of mitigation efforts as executed by the president and superintendent. This is a form that we filled out a few weeks ago, just stating that we were in the virtual mode. And that's where we were at that point. So I guess this is to affirm that statement. However, with our move now to starting on January 19th and hybrid, we need to fill out yet another attestation form saying that we're going to follow all the guidelines of PDE when we're in the classroom. And we just refill out the form and say we're moving to the hybrid model. And there's been a lot of gnashing of teeth by other districts, but I really don't see this as much of an issue because we're just going to affirm and sign off on the signature there and follow the rules that PDE set out, which we had been following from the beginning.
So moved.
I'll
All
second
right.
that one, Debbie.
All right, motion, second, discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next motion is that Larry?
Yeah, just a quickie here. If we're going to allow sports, then are the parents going to transport, or are we going to supply buses?
Well, let's first get a motion and then a second, and we'll have that discussion.
Okay.
All right. Motion for winter sports, permitting winter sports.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it with Debbie.
Okay, motion and a second. Patricia, you got those motion and a second? Yeah, you are awesome. Okay.
Got it.
Because I sure can't keep it straight. All right, so discussion, Larry.
Well, I just want to know what we're going to do. I mean, if we're going to be transporting kids for the activities and whatever, why we've got to plan ahead on how to clean the buses and make them safe. And because as Dr. Bart said, that the buses are a real breeding ground for pretty much everything. So
I'm not sure he quite said that.
No,
but
I'm not sure either.
In the fall, we didn't transport the kids and they got to practice. So I think if the parents and the students really want to get to practice, they're going to find a way to get to practice. As much as I would have loved to have a bus in the fall for my kids, we found a way to get them to practice. And I was surprised at how many families found a way to get their kids to practice.
By the way, the district still has to, if they're going on the bus, they still have to follow the safety plan, which includes, I'm assuming, cleaning the buses and.
Right.
Right.
Is that
And
correct?
masking.
And
Right.
masking.
Just make sure that we're going to have something in place because, if we're running them, home at, 7 or whatever, and they got to be cleaned overnight. Why?
That's what the safety plan's about.
They did it I'm saying they did it in the fall. They ran the late buses in the fall. But parents who's, like, if your child was a student athlete and they were in the hybrid program or even a soccer, parents carpooled to find ways to get their kids to school by 2:30, 3 o'clock for practice or earlier for a game, I was very pleasantly surprised on how the community came together to get their student athletes to school for practice and games in the fall. And I was very happy with the students when I was at the bus stop, picking them up at the end of the day at 6 o'clock, seeing every child get off the bus with the mask on, separated on the bus in their own seats. So they were following the rules, the student athletes, and they know that doing a sport is a privilege. And if they want to do the sport, the coaches and the students all know that they have to follow the rules. And if they do not follow the rules, they will not be able to participate. And they need to, and the students really, who really want to participate will follow the rules and do what they need to do.
Just to add to that, to be clear, the plan was not to provide transportation to the practice, but it would be, and I'm using January 4th as the date because we aren't running buses at that point yet for students. But we could look at providing an activity bus if the board wishes for the end of practices.
Kind of like we did during the school year, but not,
Yeah.
we never transported them to school, but we
Right.
transported them home.
That's correct.
That'd be fine. That would be, in my opinion, that would be okay. I am one of 9.
Did we vote on this?
Does anybody else want to speak though? 'Cause I know
So
I
this is-
dominated the time, so I apologize.
Right. And so this is for winter sports, adjusting the health and safety plan to permit winter sports during the substantial spread.
I just want to make sure that we reiterate what we've reiterated with the previous sports sessions about the safety and all of the things that Rebecca just mentioned.
Right. So would we have to would the parents would still need to do a
Mandatory meeting. They need to do a
mandatory meeting?
Yeah, same thing we required
Same
before.
thing.
And it shouldn't be
Absolutely.
difficult if people
Very
want that.
important That they have
Exactly.
to sign off on it before their child can even try out for sports.
I
And
agree
the
with that.
coaches had to have their contact tracing training done, every coach, just like we required for the fall.
And
Yeah,
it's more
they've already
important
done
now.
What'd you say?
They've done it already.
Yes.
And it's more important now than it was in the fall. So
Exactly.
we have to be very serious about this.
And I think we should make the students sign off too, that they will commit to follow the rules. And if they don't, they will not be able to participate.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, we've had some discussion. Is there anything else we want to add to this discussion? All right, seeing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay. That's page 2. All right. Moving on to motion to adopt the board policies as listed. Online courses, tobacco and vaping for pupils, tobacco and vaping for employees. Accept the motion to approve.
Motion, Lisa.
So moved, George.
Second.
All right, I heard George as a second there. All right, so motion, discussion. Sharon, anything that you find important as part of this?
I'm sorry, Rich, I couldn't hear what you just said.
Anything that, anything that we should be paying attention to in these stuff?
No, we went through them the previous policy meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, motion second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, who was opposed to that? All right. Moving on. Special education, motion to approve the release and settlement agreement between the East Stroudsburg Area School District and the parents of the students with case number listed below here.
So moved.
So move.
Oh, second.
I heard Damari as a motion. Lisa as a second. All right, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion to approve the employment actions listed in accordance with the associated applicable policies, procedures, and contractual agreements, and with accepting Ms. Parrish as assistant vice principal or vice principal at North in line H as well.
Principal.
Assistant principal.
And Amanda Parrish to the appointments, right?
Correct.
So
Any
moved.
motion? Thank you, Lisa.
Second.
All right, thank you, George. Motion and a second. Discussion. Any abstentions?
I have a question, Rich.
Please.
Have those who were not selected already been notified? I assume they have because we're announcing this as at a public meeting, but I'm just wondering.
Well,
Not as far as I'm aware of, Damari.
Steve is not here, right? Because of.
Oh, right. Dr. Riker, do you know the answer to that question?
Well, I learned this evening that answer is no, not all have been notified.
Okay, then I have a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a concern with us mentioning publicly something that wasn't shared with others who were part of the process and not selected.
That is a fair concern.
I agree with Mary. It's a little late for it now, so we owe apologies to whomever is on the public meeting.
And I'm going to defer to Chris for any help here. What do we think is?
I think you should vote.
It's already out there?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Then we have to apologize to the
The
correct.
candidates who were not selected, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So on behalf of the district, my formal and sincere apologies. It was an oversight on our part there.
We assumed that you were notified and we apologize.
Right. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Damari, for bringing that up. All right. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on. Tax adjustments, that's that, that's this, over here, that's that. Just waiting to catch up here, there we go. Do we do the employment contracts or is that part of the previous?
That's part of previous.
All right. Finances.
Page 14.
No, I think we
Oh,
want
no,
to motion.
I'm sorry. No, that is, you're on page
Okay.
14. Yes, that's needed. Yes.
All right, so
Sorry, Rich.
I'll accept a motion to waive the stipulations with respect to payment of unused sick leave for those folks listed below.
So moved.
Thank you, Wayne.
Second, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Discussion?
Hey, Rich,
Yes.
I noticed when we were doing the employment also, that we had a note in the back portion of our book that in section, I guess when they rescinded as sophomore class, is that because they're going to be junior class and it was just listed wrong for the rescission, or are they not doing it at all?
I
was confused.
don't know, but I'm not sure if that's part of this
We
employment
already
contract.
voted on that, but I think I'm not sure, so I was confused. I was gonna ask about that. I'm a little late, I think.
I'm
I'll
not.
ask Steve to reach out to you, Rebecca, on that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that they're getting what they're supposed to get
Yeah.
and
Oh, right.
Thank you.
I got it. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, no problem, no problem. Rescission from the, okay. All right, so a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now on to finances. Budget adoption. Motion to adopt the formal resolution as presented at this meeting certifying that the district will not seek exceptions to the Act 1 index and will not raise taxes in the amount that exceed the Act 1 index of 4.2% for the 2021-2022 fiscal year.
So move.
Thank you, Sharon. Second.
I think
Debbie?
Debbie's saying.
I got Debbie there. Yep. She's like, no, 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 higher taxes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Do we really want to do that at this point, or do we just want to leave it open?
We have to vote on this right now.
We do.
We're required to. We have to every December.
Yep.
George, my question to you is, do you want to raise taxes more than 4.2%?
We don't know. Let's say we don't know. This is all hypothetical, okay?
It is.
So if we don't know, we wouldn't want to do the resolution. We wouldn't have to raise them at all without the resolution either, right?
Right.
Right.
So but the resolution puts a cap on it.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we have to apply to the state to see what they will allow us maximum to raise it to, should we choose to. So they may even say you can't raise it more than 4.3.
No,
we don't know what they're going to say. We have to apply and show them what our budget is.
If we don't do the resolution, we can raise it as high as we want. Am I right?
No.
Yes.
No.
No, 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 no.
What? What if we have to raise it there again 10% to get, so we get rid of the whole deficit?
But we can't. We have to apply to see what the state will allow us to raise.
No, we'd have to do a referendum, right?
No, but the state tells us you can't raise it over a certain amount. They say based on what your budget is and based on what your spending is,
unless
we allow you to go this high.
Unless we do a referendum.
Then then the public would vote on it in May at the election, and then they would have to do it.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But they could still vote no, and then we can end up not raising anything.
George, when I look at this, I think the 4.2%, even at 4.2%, it's what, $4.9 million?
Yeah.
And so if we're forecasting a budget deficit of $9 million, but we're still not really sure of our incomes and not quite sure of our expenses yet, we're building in, an amount.
Rich, you're right. That's what my concern is. That we're not sure. And
we're never sure.
I have no problems. I don't want to raise taxes at all, to be honest with you. I just want to say, okay, let's not, we're $5 million from last year, right? We had to take $5 million out of our general fund from last year.
It's just a preliminary budget, George.
Right.
Nothing's settled yet.
No, but George is right.
So last is, what did we have to do last year? We took out
last year.
But that's
that was a different situation. Well, not
right,
different.
Hold on a second, guys. The reason we put the 5 point something million dollars into the budget for last year, for this year, was because we were uncertain of our revenues.
Okay.
We were concerned that the earned income tax revenue and the property tax revenue wasn't going to meet the expectations of the budget.
Okay.
What we're seeing right now is that we're actually slightly ahead of budget forecast. Not a budget forecast, but of what revenue forecast was for last year.
Okay.
So I'm not so sure we're going to even need to use that 5 point something million dollars in this year's budget.
I misunderstood what Tom was saying then. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the fortunate thing is that, even if we put the cap on tonight at 4.2%, we still have the ability to use our budget reserve in a critical emergency.
Yeah.
I have full confidence that Tom is going to present to us a really good budget in March that is going to be, that's going to come out more balanced.
You and I both do. Yes.
Okay.
If
I just keep saying it, it's going to be true, right? Right, Tom? Right?
I'm a worry wart.
and that's good. We need them. But right now, the whole point of this motion is just to say, we're not going to raise taxes more than 4.2%.
I have no problem.
Right.
Let's go with it, guys. I just,
Right.
I said, I just a worry word.
Okay, I understand that. And I'm glad that you are, because you need to keep us in line here. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right. Motion to accept Bundle B, Basic Services of the proposal from Burke 1.
Motion.
From
Second.
Larry, from George. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, purchases subject to bid. Motion to approve the proposal from the Committee for Children in the amount of $5,645 for the subscription of material for second step bullying prevention.
Motion. Second.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
All right, Larry and Wayne, discussion. I'd like to thank the Education Committee for bringing this forward, as well as sending it on to Finance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, cooperative purchasing. Motion to accept the proposal from Integra One in the amount of $104,028 for the 5-year antivirus protection.
Motion.
Thank you, Larry. Wayne? George?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the proposal from Provision in the amount of $148,676 for the procurement of the bus stop arm camera bundle.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion to approve the proposal from Center Stage Lighting and Rigging in the amount of $10,452 for the repair and replacement of controls at High School South.
Motion, Lisa.
Second, Rebecca.
Motion second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion to approve the proposal from Train in the amount of $31,969 for the installation of dehumidification controls at JTL Pod.
Motion, Lisa.
Second.
Whoever.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion to approve the proposal from Keystone Fire Protection in the amount of $17,884 / $1,000 for the installation of a dry fire suppression system. High school now, thank you.
Second.
Awesome. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Payment of bills. Motion to approve the budget transfers, payment of bills, and treasurer's report listed in the agenda in accordance with Section 687 of the Public School Code and recent directives of the EDE and interpretations by the Auditor General.
So move.
I saw Sharon. All right. Sharon and Rebecca, discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye. Aye.
All right. Motion to approve the payment of the following invoices as listed from Tehui Engineering.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion to approve pay application number 6 from Lehigh Valley Flooring in the amount of $10,716 for work at JTL Flooring.
Motion. Oh. Whoever.
Patricia's got it. All right.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve pay application number 11 from Jotton Inc. in the amount of $304,220 for the work performed at High School North Lehman Roof.
Motion, Lisa.
Second, Deb.
Okay, Lisa and Deb, discussion. Is that roof working? Any leaks up there?
It's good. They got a couple of little, I think, what do you call it? Punch list things, but they're just done. It's good.
All right.
I think.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 It is
Opposed?
under warranty anyway.
There you go. I like that. Okay. Motion to approve the pay application number 8 from Train Inc. in the amount of $283,863 for work performed on the HVAC controls at North Lehman Elementary Intermediate.
So moved. Lisa.
Second, George.
All right. Thank you, Lisa and George. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion to approve pay application number 1 from Environmental Restoration for the work performed on the removal of underground storage tank at JTL Bus Garage.
So moved, Lisa.
Second, George.
Thank you, Lisa and George. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Student activity funds. Motion to approve the request to renew the already established special activity fund listed below for ESE Musical Theater Club.
So moved.
Second. Wayne. Second.
Motion in a second. All right. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion to approve the request to establish the special activity funds listed for East Stroudsburg High School South girls basketball, and that's the one that's there.
So
So
moved.
moved, Deb.
Oh, second.
Okay.
Debbie's
Motion
got it.
second. All in favor? Aye.
I just mentioned.
Discussion?
Aye.
Oh wait. Whoa. I'm sorry. Whoa. The
Discussion.
one time I missed discussion, and that's when there's a defense.
I just find it odd that the girls' basketball, is this the first time that they're requesting an activity fund? This is their first year. We've been in existence. How many years? We're just now creating a special activity fund? I just find that unusual.
And I was just going to mention that as we're starting to set up more activity funds, I just want to make sure that we have proper signers on there and we ensure that all activity funds, no matter whether they're musical clubs, whatever, that they're following proper procedures set out by our auditors when they did our audit.
We are providing them, when they fill out the paperwork to submit for the group, we are providing them the information, and they're also being provided the link to the video of the fraud video that we had conducted last year. So we are following that as of
We're
now.
still doing that. Thank you.
All right. So is it okay to vote on this now?
Yeah.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion to approve the tax assessment appeal settlement. Stipulations presented and to authorize the solicitor to execute stipulations on behalf of the school district.
So moved, Lisa.
Second.
Thank you, Damari. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Gifts, scholarships, and donations. Motion to accept the grant in the amount of $12,000 from the Pocono Mountains United Way for East Stroudsburg Area School District's Summer STEAM Art Program.
So moved.
Thank you, Sharon.
Second, Rebecca.
Second, George.
All right, Rebecca got the second there, George. She beat you to it by a second. I'm going to abstain. Debbie, do you need to abstain?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Any other discussion? All right.
Thank you.
All
Your
in fa-
way.
All in favor?
Thank
Aye.
you to the board members that approved it.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, abstentions? Aye.
And Debbie.
And Debbie. Okay, as board members for the United Way, that's what's our conflict there. All right, now operations. Motion to approve the contracts listed for their specific service rates, effective dates, subject to review and recommendations of the solicitor, and approval of the administration regarding terms and conditions of any final contract other than cost or price.
So moved.
Thank you, Demary.
Second.
Thank you, Lisa. Discussion. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Before we adjourn.
Oh, no, sorry, Rebecca, wait.
Something else. Before we adjourn, I just want to ask a question.
Oh, before we adjourn, okay. We'll do that before we adjourn. All right, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Contracts totaling $10,000 or more. Notice that the effective date on item number 1 should be 12/22/2020 to 12/23/2021. And number 2 is Colonial IU. On motion?
We already voted on that.
We already voted on it. Okay.
Yep.
All right, contract. Okay, got it. Super. All right.
Question.
Rebecca?
For
You're up.
sports, we agreed if the governor lifted the ban that they start. Is it both middle school and high school or just high school?
Should be all.
I would read that the same way.
Because the health and safety plan mentioned high school. I didn't see it mentioning middle school. That's why I asked the question.
It did not, Rebecca. You are correct. It was only initially for high school.
Now my question is, are we doing it for middle school and high school?
We should.
Yeah.
So I think we need to add that and vote how we're doing it, if it's for high school and middle school or just high school.
I agree with you.
Absolutely.
You don't have, I don't think you have to go, if the majority of the board agrees that it's both, then you just
I
say
just
it's
want to be
both.
clear so the coaches know, because I'm sure I saw a lot of them on here watching the meeting. So I just want to make sure they have clarification on that.
I agree, both middle school and high school.
Yeah, if we were doing it in this fall, we should be doing it in winter.
Okay.
That way.
That was my question. We did it in the fall as well.
Right, because I read the plan and I didn't see it mention middle school. So that's why I just asked, just for clarification.
All right, folks.
I actually read it.
Good job. Well, it's 9:43. If there's no other business, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all those special holidays right now.
Yes. Happy holidays, everybody. Be
Enjoy
safe.
relaxing, you know.
We'll
All right,
see
take
you
care, folks.
in the new year.
See
guys.
y'all next
See you
year.
in the new year.
Yeah,
Rich.
happy new year.
Rich, will you be coming to sign tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow morning I'll be in normal time.
Okay.
7:45, 7:50. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay. Chat's in there.
Those are
Wait for the last discussion.